Hey friends, it's Jeannie, and today I'm part of a video hop for Not Too Shabby's Lazy Time box release. I'm using 3 of the stamp sets from the box: Me Time, Not Today, and Time to Relax, along with 2 paper pads. For today's card, I stamped out a bunch of the images from the 3 sets because they are perfect for a scene card. However, I won't be showing the coloring today because we'll be focusing on putting the card together, which is a mini slimline card with a shadow box inside. Slimline cards are so popular, but a mini slimline is a really fun one because you don't have the pressure of all that space to fill up. For my mini slimline card, it will be 3 by 6 inches. So let's talk about creating this card. I actually got this idea from my friend Shanna. She has a blog post with all the details on how to create it as well. If you would like to read it, I'll leave a link down below if you're interested. Her idea works perfectly for this card because my images are perfect for 3 little scenes. I will be using a 12 by 12 piece of paper to cut out 2 3 by 12 strips. I thought it was perfect because I've been trying to use up my paper pads that are 12 by 12, and this was the perfect way to do it. For my first strip, I will go ahead and score it at 2.5 inches, 6 inches, and then 8.5 inches. I will leave the dimensions down below in the description box, as well as a little diagram on the blog if you're interested in checking it out. I know that some people aren't great with watching it on a video, and a diagram is a better visual for them. So I will go ahead and score all those lines and fold them with a Teflon bone folder just to reinforce those lines. The second strip is the card base, so I'll just fold that one in half. And so the strip with the 3 score lines is actually what will create the shadow box. And the 2 areas that are on the edge of the strips will be glued into the middle of the box. So you don't want to touch any of those. So as you can see, the strip edges will go into the middle of the box and it will create this little pop-up box when you open the mini slimline card. For our shadow box, it will need a window. So for this card, I'm not using any special dies, and it's pretty easy to create a little window with a pencil and a paper cutter. However, if you have a rectangle die available to create a window, feel free to use it. I just created a rectangular window with a 3/8 frame around it, and that will allow your card recipient to quote unquote peer into another room on this card. So once I have the pencil lines, I will use my Fiskars paper cutter to trim out the interior rectangle. And I like my Fiskars paper cutter for the reason that you can see the wire and you can line it up to your pencil lines and use that as a visual aid to help you cut those lines. Of course, if you have an X-Acto knife and a ruler, you can go ahead and use that as well. Anything that you can use to cut this rectangle out is perfect. So if you don't have a die that will fit perfectly, you can just use your paper cutter, an X-Acto knife. It's pretty easy to do. I also decided to pull out the 2 paper pads because I kind of wanted wallpaper. I have the idea of these girls being in a house and there are 3 separate rooms. So I'm just going through the pattern paper to pick out the pattern that I want to use. I wasn't really sure where I was going with this at first, so I just pulled out a ton of them just to have some options, and I went through both paper packs just to see what was available. There are a ton of pages that have different images, and there are images from the actual stamp sets as well, so this entire box coordinates with each other and works really great together. So you'll see that they are double-sided and they have images on both sides, and there are multiples of the pages, so you will get to be able to use each of the sides. Because this is a house, I decided that I wanted to ground the entire scene. I trimmed out 1/2 inch of craft cardstock to line the bottom of my card panel to create a floor. So I am doing that on the card base on the inside, as well as 2 of the shadow box areas. Because the 2 edges won't be seen, I don't bother covering that up. So I'll just line that, and that will become my hardwood floors. Of course, you don't have to do this at all. I just wanted to take that extra step and use some of this pattern paper because I thought it was really pretty. So I decided to go with a very subtle pink floral pattern, and I thought it was perfect for the wallpaper. You'll notice that my card base color does change because I decided to go with a brighter pink. It just went with the pattern paper a little bit better, and I just swapped it out. So I'll probably use my extras that I created earlier for a different card because these slimline cards are so fun to create since it's pretty easy to fill up the space and you don't have to really worry too much about too much space. Once I did that, I decided that I need to create a strip for inside the shadow box. So this particular strip is 3/4 inch and I will be scoring it at 3/4 an inch and a 4 1/4. And again, I'll list the dimensions down below in case you're interested. I also cut out an inch strip for the back of this shadow box just to create some depth. So if you're looking into a room, you'll see different layers of the floor. This will be my bathroom. So I'll have the tub, the girl, and the candle in this little room. So for the little strip that I created with the score lines, that will create another layer within the shadow box. So if you're familiar with shadow boxes, there are multiple layers, but I decided just to go with one for this one, and I thought it worked perfectly, so I just inserted it into the middle of the shadow box. I am going ahead and adding double-sided adhesive to the two areas on the edge of the strips, and that will be glued into the box. As I add the adhesive onto it, I think I only adhere one panel first, and I will put it right in the middle of the slimline card. So although this card looks like it's so spacious, it's actually pretty small, which I liked because I didn't have to worry. I wasn't able to use my chandelier for this card because of how short the card is, but I thought it was perfect. And so the shadow box fits nicely and folds down within this mini slimline. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with decorating the box itself, and as I had said before, it will be 3 different rooms. One room will be a living room with a plant and a large couch and one of the girls who is kind of just chilling and listening to music. I thought it was really cute. She fits perfectly in that little couch, and that will be my first room. For the second room, it actually has the wallpaper on the side, so it kind of creates an additional effect. So you'll get both sides, and I kind of play around with this because I actually move that plant over to the second room where this one girl is sitting in her little chair. It just really filled up the space a little bit more. So I decided to move the plant over to the second room and have her sitting there with all her books. And she's not really holding a book. I could have definitely masked it to make it look like she was holding a book, but I already had cut these out and colored them. I didn't want to have to stamp her out again and recolor. So it will just be her chilling in a chair, and she probably dropped a book on the floor or something, and I thought that was perfect. So for all these images, I'm just using liquid adhesive to add it to the card, and I kind of map everything out ahead of time just to make sure I know where everything is going. Like I moved the plan around, so you definitely want to map everything out before you adhere it, because once you adhere it, it's pretty much stuck. For the bathroom, I went ahead and added the tub at the very back of the shadow box, and then I added the girl on that strip that we created to add that layer. The candle was a little bit larger, so I decided to put it right in front of the bathroom because of the depth perception, and hopefully that makes sense. For the images themselves, I just took a Copic marker and kind of grounded everything because they look like they were floating, so that just adds a dimensional effect to it. I decided to use one of the die cuts from the set that comes into the box as well. They're just die cuts of images from the stamp sets and extras, and I am going to use it in the middle of one of the sentiments. So I masked off the sentiment that I'm using, which just says look fabulous and be gorgeous, and I'll be using that for the front of the card. So because there's so much going on inside the card, I wanted to keep the outside of the card very simple. I am using the same pattern paper to decorate the front of the card, and I just trimmed that down so it could be matted and you'll have that pink frame around. Once that's on there, I added the sentiment strip in the middle of the card front using a T-ruler just so I can make sure it goes on straight. You really don't even have to mask off the sentiment because the die cut will be covering up the middle area anyway. So if you chose to do the same sentiment split as me, you could have stamped the sentiment on one edge and then the end of the other sentiment on the other edge and placed the die cut in the middle. I thought that this simple card front was perfect because the inside's so fun, but here's a look at my final card for today's video. Again, it is part of a video hop, so I will list the next stop in the description box below, and be sure to stop by the Not Too Shabby shop to check out the April Lazy Day box. I hope you enjoyed watching me put this card together because I had so much fun doing it, and I will see you guys next time with another video. Bye!